Hi, my name's Duru. I'm a building consultant working exclusively for Home Group WA. Behind me is the Denver Platinum. It's a 4x2 with a theatre on a 450 square metre lot. We have 274 square metres of built up area. Let's head inside and take a look. Welcome back to another walkthrough video, guys. As a building consultant, my job is to help perfect these floor plans for my clients. The purpose of today's video is to help you digest this Denver Platinum floor plan and really dive into the finer details. Let's head outside and start from the front facade. We are looking at something that is quite coastal. We've got two gable ends. We've got some projecting brickwork that has some stone cladding on it. We've got a steel truss feature, and we've also got a corner window. There is a lot going on. We've also got some timber cladding in there as well. So we're in Catalina Beach at the moment, and Catalina Beach West actually requires you to build an eave over the garage. So that's the first thing that you might notice or might not actually. We've got the gable end as well, the roof gable with the timber cladding. I think that the timber cladding looks really nice, but if you look really closely, this home's been built, a couple of years ago. There is quite a bit of maintenance required for the timber cladding. If you are thinking about it, we are in a coastal area, so the salt in the air will start to degrade that timber quite quickly if you don't look after it. So that's just something to keep in mind. I think the stone features themselves look really amazing. A huge fan of the stone cladding, especially this particular stone. And we've also got a really deep planter box outside of the master bedroom. So I'm a huge fan of that as well. The way that it's all tied in together, I think it works beautifully. Out of a lot of the display home elevations, this one is definitely one that comes up a lot with some of my clients wanting something similar or a similar theme. So I think Home Group have done an amazing job with the front. I will have to say though, this would be really expensive to replicate. If you are on a bit of a budget, probably not going to get this exact same elevation, but speak to your building consultant. They should be able to come up with some ideas for you so you can get a similar feel. One more thing that I do want to point out is we can see that we've got this gable end on the roof here, right? And what makes this front elevation look really nice is the fact that underneath it is almost like a raking ceiling. So if we compare the two gables, that one on the left-hand side is what we would call a roof gable, which is your standard, easy to manufacture front facade feature, whereas this one is a little bit more complex and a little bit more costly. So it's really important to be able to identify the differences between the two. They do sound similar, but from a construction standpoint, very different. So we're in the main entry of the home. We have our 25 course Delavita door. It's a 1200mm wide aluminium frame door. If you've seen a Home Group display home, you've probably walked through one of these before. They're really great. Comes with a digital lock and you can get it in white, black or silver. So this one's black, looks good. We've got 34 course high ceilings in the entry passageway. And the first thing you might notice and you could potentially like is this timber cladding to the front entry corridor wall. I think it looks beautiful and I wouldn't recommend doing this through the builder from the start because it's going to be very expensive, especially if you're on a budget. But they've carried the theme out from the timber cladding on the front elevation on the roof gables through to the inside of the home. So it does look absolutely stunning, but this is not a standard practice, right? So this is something that you'd have to ask for on top of your standard build. Coming through, I think the first thing you're going to want to pay attention to with doorways coming off corridors is we've got our 300mm nib wall here. So from where you are, you probably can't even see the doorway, and that's the point, right? So we've got the bed one at the front of the home that's coming right off the entry passage. Anytime you're having a doorway come off a passageway, if you have the space to do so, try to recess the door 300mm in to give it a little bit more privacy. So we'll head on inside to the master bedroom. So we've got 34 course ceilings in the master bedroom, and again, not standard, but the reason why we have that here is because the front elevation's so big, so high, so we've already increased that ceiling height to 34. If you come into this room, it's been beautifully decorated. I think that the feel that they've given the room is really nice. And again, the timber cladding is behind the bed. And then we've got a ensuite on this side, and then we have a walk-in robe that is behind the bed. So just a couple of things with this one. This ensuite, nothing in here is standard, okay? So if you want to imagine what your floor plan will be like and you're starting from a designer plus or a luxury spec floor plan, this is not it, right? So everything here has been upgraded. We've got the full height tiling, we've got a dropped ceiling, and we've got the tiling featuring above the recess as well. We've got these glazed doors. So these fully frameless doors are extremely expensive. We've got dual shower heads. We've got a shower niche in the corner. Even the WC has a glazed door, which is, again, a lot of extra cost. We've got the upgraded vanity, and then we've got a freestanding bath. So absolutely stunning ensuite. But I think if you are looking to emulate something like this, you really have someone that's going to look out for your budget, because you can quickly be spending thousands and thousands of dollars if you are trying to replicate exactly this. Also, something it's important for you to ask your consultant is the extent of the tiling, the size of the tiles, and also all of the brickwork, right? So there's a lot of additional brickwork that's been added in here to give the effect that it has. We've got a lot of fixed frameless panels of glass. So in here, between the shower recess and the window, we've got a feature bit of glass, and then we have a awning style window. So the windows that will come standard in your floor plans, they will be a sliding window, and they will most likely be obscure, so they won't be clear glazing like this. They do look a little bit better, and the reason why this is an upgrade is because of the way that the mechanism that it has to shut. My thoughts on this is I'm not a huge fan of this floor plan and the way that I guess they've brought everything together. I think this home itself is absolutely stunning, but it does feel a little bit cramped in my opinion. So we're on a 450 square meter lot, and with a lot of the designs that I'm working on and I've walked through, this does feel a lot smaller than what it should. If you have a look at the robe is small. The master bedroom, also, it's not very big. And then we have the ensuite that's quite literally right on top of our bed, so there's absolutely no separation between where you're sleeping and where you're potentially going to the toilet or having a shower. So it just feels like everything's on top of each other. Again, this is my personal opinion. If I was to look at building a house on a 450, this probably wouldn't be the way that I would want to do it. But in terms of the finishing and the fit out, I think it's a beautiful, beautiful home. All right, so we've come in through the entry. We've got the master bedroom behind me, and this is the main living area. So we've got the kitchen, dining, family, scullery and laundry, and then we've got the minor bedrooms back this way. So the basics of this room, we've got 34 course high ceilings, 28 course door frames. We've got a drop ceiling over the kitchen with a light trough, so that's sitting at 31 course. Of course, got the bulkhead at 28, that's above our kitchen as well. A few things that they've done to spruce up the space. We do have our TV recess, plinth, and a bit of extra cabinet work on the bottom. Again, they've continued on with the timber cladding to the TV recess on this side. I really do like the colors that they've used. It has a really nice earthy feel. A few things that I'm not a huge fan of in this space that you probably pick out straight away is it is super open. When we head to the theater after this, I'm going to point out a couple of things as well. But we've got this feature opening, which I think looks really nice, but I don't think it's very functional because we've got our scullery that's pretty much a part of the kitchen already. I think a lot of the time, people that are wanting a scullery want something that's hidden away, whether it's going to be, you know, for your dishes, your toaster, your kettle, coffee maker. Generally, people want the scullery to be hidden away so that our main kitchen and entertaining area is kept nice and neat. Here they've had it configured so it's really open, right? So it's basically a part of the whole room. So personally, I'm not a huge fan of how open it is, but again, every single display home is configured differently, and there is certainly going to be some that are my favorites and some that are my least favorites, and I think this one's gonna rank towards the bottom, so I have to be honest, not a huge fan of the way that this is set up. I do like the fact that the scullery and laundry are right next to each other, and we've got a door to the laundry. So, you know, if you're doing your washing up at the end of the day and you're trying to do, you know, dishes, cook, clean, all at the same time, you're kind of in the same, I guess, workspace. So I am a big fan of, I guess, the overall location of the laundry, but having this section of the home so open, not a big fan of that, especially when you're working with a block this size. One more point I'm going to make before we move on to the minor bedroom side of the home is the feel. All right, so when you walk through the family dining, you're gonna get a certain feel of the space and how it all ties in together. This space for a 15-meter wide design feels a little bit small, cramped, and not as open as I'd like it to. And the reason for that is because behind the kitchen here, we have the minor bathroom and powder room. So that takes away a lot of that space and depth that we're able to achieve in some other floor plans. For me, out of a lot of the home group designs, this is going to be one of my least favorite, purely because of the way that the home all ties in together and how it feels. This is of course a personal preference for me, and out of all the clients that I've worked with, I've never received a request to build this particular floor plan. So maybe everyone else feels the same way I do, but there are some other 15-meter wide designs that have an absolutely incredible feel as you walk through this family dining space. And I just feel like that wow factor is missing from the Denver Platinum. I think that the theater should be somehow separate to the main living area. It doesn't bother me that it's, you know, coming right off the dining, but I feel like a theater is best used when you can close it off. You know, if someone's watching something late at night, or you have someone watching TV in the family room and you might have the kids in here watching their movie, the ability to shut off the room I think is really important. So this display home, if someone wanted to do that, it's going to be really difficult. It's not like we have a lintel with brickwork above it and the option to put a barn door. We can't close off this space unless we've really put in a lot of effort and money. So again, I'm not a huge fan of this configuration. To me, it's too open and it's too integrated with the main living area. But in terms of the location of the theater, I think it's great. You've got your Alfresco right here, and we've got a sliding door to the Alfresco. So if you really wanted to entertain and have a lot of people over, open this door, open the stacker door on the Alfresco and dining side, and yeah, you can have a lot of people all in the same space. So coming through the family dining theater side, there's a bit of a passageway here. On the left-hand side, we've got the minor bathroom and the powder room. This landing area is the activity area, and then behind you, behind Maddie, are the 3 minor bedrooms. So a couple of things to note first is that we do have a bit of a passageway leading into this space. A lot of people are going to complain about having too many passageways, saying that it's a waste of space, that they don't want it, and that's completely fair enough. However, sometimes passageways give the home a really good feel and that separation that you need, especially when you're going from somewhere that can be quite loud to sleeping quarters. Passageways can be handy. I personally don't mind having passageways within the home as long as they're not being done in a wasteful way. So don't be afraid to have some passageways in your home. I think it's been done really well here. And then coming through, we do have the activity. We can opt to keep it or get rid of it. However, here I think it works well. And then we've got our minor bathroom and powder room on this side. So like I was saying before, this is all situated behind the kitchen. And again, another reason why we don't have that depth. Powder room here with a full-size vanity. And then we have a bathroom with a double vanity here. So we've got 3 sinks in such a small space, which I think is overkill. So in the display home, looks beautiful. We could be using this width and this space for somewhere else in the home. But other than that, it's going to be a pretty standard space. We do have the shower recess with fully frameless panels of glass, which is very expensive, not standard. We also have 600 by 600 floor tiles. If you want to upgrade to these tiles, it's really important to note that you will have to upgrade to a grate drain. So Maddie, if you just want to have a quick shot of that. That's the metal grate drain that you'll need to upgrade to, which in itself is expensive. It's about $1,000 to upgrade to that. The tiles themselves, the standard is 300 by 300 tiles. To go to 450s, which I recommend a lot of my clients to do, very cost effective. You know, you're looking at about $100 for the room. So, and what you can do with that is just have the tiled insert waste instead of just your metal drain. I think it finishes off the room nicely. If you do have the budget to go to the 600s, that's great. Something I will recommend for you to do is to make sure that you keep the color of the floor tiles in your passageway the same as it is in the wet area, just so that you've got that nice flow on effect. Let's head over to the minor bedrooms. So we've got another little passageway that then heads on down to beds 2, 3, and 4. So we've got all 3 entries next to me here. So again, this is good and bad in 2 ways. One, I really like how far the entry doors to the bedrooms are from the bathroom and the toilet. I think that's great. We've got such a huge distance. But the negative on that side is you have all 3 doors coming off the same exact point in the home. So this can be seen as a negative, especially if you don't have very considerate brothers, sisters, neighbors, whatever you want to whatever it is that you have. If they're not opening and closing the doors softly, gently at night, then it kind of defeats the purpose of having the bathroom so far away. Let's head on into the first minor bedroom. Pretty standard room. We've got a 17 course window with the head height at 28 course. We've got our robe sliders at 28 course as well. These robe sliders have been upgraded to a glass coat finish. I think it looks great, but you'll notice even when I try to open this robe, I'm having to touch the glass because it's a semi-frameless build, right? Which looks beautiful, but not very functional. So I personally wouldn't spend the money upgrading to this frame. I would keep the standard frame, which has a thicker lip on it. You can still change the color to black, white, whatever you want to, but at least you're not having to touch the glass every time you want to open and close your robe. Alfresco, the fly screen is included in your build if you're building with home group. It's a question I get asked a lot. Nothing in this Alfresco is standard, okay? The reason why it looks good, the main 3 reasons. 1, we've got render, acrylic render, texture coat. So instead of our 2-course face brick. Number 2 is we have a recessed plasterboard ceiling to 34 courses. And number 3 is we have T-bars, 1 and 2, with rendered brickwork above, separating our alfresco area from the eaves. Those are the 3 main reasons that this alfresco looks good. And if you want a bonus 4th, it is the exposed aggregate in lieu of our standard pavers. As beautiful as this small space is, it's important to note that nothing you see here would be included in a standard build. It is very different, but you can take parts of it to make your alfresco area nicer. If it were me, the most important things that I would look for is the render. I'm a huge fan of adding the texture coat onto the alfresco area, if you can afford it, to the whole home, and the recessed plasterboard ceiling. So if we don't want to pay for the T-bars, that's fine. We don't need to go that extreme, but try to get a quote for a recessed ceiling to see if that is within your budget, because it does make a huge difference to the overall feel of the alfresco. Again, in terms of the layout and the design, this has got to be one of my least favorite floor plans because it just feels so small and cramped in this space. With a 15-meter frontage, you've got so much width to work with. If you compare it to something like the Manhattan that has that beautiful open, wide space, you know, with your family dining alfresco all together, the feeling you get through walking through that display is so different to what you feel going through this one. So really do your research and try to walk through as many display homes as possible before really, making your shortlist. When it comes to the price, they're basically priced the same. So my least favorite, but if it's your favorite, that's no problem. We can all be different. Now let's go through my 3 favorite items in this home and my 3 least favorite. Starting with my favorite, number 1 is the location. We're in Mindarie on the west coast of Australia. It is one of the most beautiful places you could live in the world. Whether you're building in Mindarie, Catalina Beach or Catalina Green in Clarkson, I think in terms of the location, top notch. So if you're in this area, well done. On to point number 2. My second favorite thing about this design is the minor section of the home, how the bathroom and the WC are so far apart from the entry points to your minor bedrooms. Having that separation, I think, is very functional. Nobody's going to disturb each other going to the bathroom at night, and we've really separated the 2 areas with the activity in the middle. I think it works well. My third favorite thing about this home is the kitchen. The Delavita luxury kitchen is absolutely stunning. The inclusions you get and the quality of the build is unreal. So I highly recommend that you don't just, walk through a home group display home and just look at the kitchen and think, oh, that's it. Really open and close the drawers, have a look at the pantry, try to get a real feel for the quality of the kitchen so that when you are walking through other displays, you have something to compare it to, make up your own opinion about these kitchens. I'm a huge fan of the luxury kitchen. If it is within your budget to include this in your build, definitely something I'd recommend. Now on to my 3 least favorite things about this design, starting with the master bedroom walk-in robe ensuite configuration. I feel like the overall layout and size is underdone. It's too small for what I think it should be on a home this size. The robe is small, the room itself is small, and then our ensuite configuration is got to be my least favorite out of the home group displays. I think it can be configured a lot better, but on to point number 2. My second least favorite thing about this design is the theatre wall. So as much of a nice feature as it is with the timber cladding and this protruding bit of framework, it's not very functional. There's no way we can close off this space. There is a ton of light flooding into the room, so if you wanted to use it as a theatre, for cinema purposes, you can't really do that either. If you've got someone watching a movie or something inside the family room, the noise is going to spill into this room as well. So in terms of functionality, not for me. On to point number 3. My third least favorite thing about the home is going to have to be the front elevation. Not because I don't think it looks beautiful, it's a stunning elevation, but because I know how much it costs to replicate this front facade, it's going to be in my least favorite. I feel like you can achieve so much more with less spend on a front facade compared to this exact home. The other thing to consider is the timber cladding in the roof gable. It is a lot of upkeep, so you can see that it's going to start needing some love and care quite soon, and it is in a hard to reach space. We already have stone cladding, we've got a corner window, we've got a planter box. There's so many beautiful items already to the front facade. I don't think that was necessary, and that concludes my least favorite points about this home. If you've waited to the end of the video, you're probably wondering how much it costs to build this home. So it does come in 2 base specifications. The first is Designer Plus. That is $409,000 to build. That doesn't include site costs. Now with the Designer Plus, it includes everything you need except for wall paint. There is a $15,000 discount promo at the moment, so you can apply that to the $409,000. The other things to consider, your site costs, BAL, coastal allowances, that's all going to need to be accommodated for. The luxury base price for this home is $438,000. Again, with a $15K promo, you can take that off. We are in July 2025, so obviously prices will continue to go up. I suspect. This particular home that we're in, I actually haven't built a Denver before because, like I said, I don't think it's that popular in terms of the layout. So if I was to give you a rough guess on how much it would cost to replicate this home based on other displays I've built, I'd put it in the ballpark of that $550,000 to $580,000 if you were to absolutely include everything from the exposed aggregate to the timber cladding, everything. My advice is if you do like a display home, you need to be working with someone that has that attention to detail and understands exactly what it is about the display home that you like. So when you start from your luxury floor plan, you're only adding the important elements. And a lot of that is going to come to the structural items like the additional brickwork, your additional lintels, ceiling heights, and the overall configuration as they do change between Designer Plus, luxury, and platinum models. That's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the walkthrough video of the Denver Platinum here in Mindarie. If you are looking to build with Home Group and you want my help, get in touch with me directly. I've left my email in the description below. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.